because we're going to start off with our next project. Okay, so next up we're going to do some of those mushrooms. So we're going to do some meringue mushrooms. Three kinds of meringues. Italian, Swiss, what's the third? Simple?
German.
French.
French.
It's not German.
No, German. No, they don't do that.
Everything's not German. Okay, Swiss, Italian, French, three most important meringues. What's the difference? Italian meringue. What happens to the sugar? Sorry? Hot syrup. You cook your sugar. Right, so the sugar is cooked to about 120 degrees Celsius. Swiss. What happens? Any guesses? Yeah, you cook it on a water bath. And French? Nothing. You just mix it all together, right? You just whip it. Okay. So, in the Italian meringue, you cook your sugar in a pot, and then you pour it into your egg whites as it's whipping, which gives volume. In a Swiss, you take your egg whites, you whip them up on a water bath, you add your sugar into it, and again, you can, once it reaches 50 degrees Celsius, you transfer it into the mixing bowl, and then you continue whipping. In a French, you put your egg whites into a mixing bowl, you whip it. Once it gets a little volume, you put the sugar and continue whipping. Three very different meringues, three very different purposes. Both of these, the meringues, they can be consumed immediately. So if you're doing a lemon meringue pie that you're just going to be torching with a blowtorch, you can use either one of these two meringues because your egg whites have been partially cooked because of the heat transferred from either the syrup or the heat from the water bath. In a French meringue, those egg whites are not cooked. So a French meringue is mainly used if you do something like macarons, or you're doing a cake or a souffle. It's going to be a product that is going to be processed further, which means you're going to either bake it or you're going to cook it for you. That's when you use a French meringue. The reason being, in a French meringue, because there's no heat in it, the egg whites can still expand. So if you make a sponge with French meringue, you will see the sponge gets nice volume. Both Swiss and Italian, because of the heat involved, the meringue loses its ability to increase in volume. So if you were to use an Italian or a Swiss meringue to make a souffle or a sponge, it will not rise as much. Right? So three very different purposes. When we get to doing buttercreams, they're going to do an Italian buttercream and a Swiss buttercream. Again, very simple. Italian buttercream, made with Italian meringue. Swiss buttercream is made with Swiss meringue. Okay? But you'll never ever be using a French meringue to make French buttercream. It's a different process, but we'll get to that. Okay? So this is something to keep in mind. The other important thing is both of these two meringues are stable. You can pipe it on a pie, on a tart, on a cake, and it's going to hold its shape. French meringue is not stable. You pipe it, it's going to begin to deflate, and it doesn't look great after about 15, maybe 20 minutes. So those are the three meringues. In this class, we're going to be doing pretty much both of these meringues and the French meringue too, and we do the chiffon. So let's get started. We're going to do the Swiss today. So the process is very, very similar to the sponge method, but instead of whole eggs, we're just going to use egg whites to send it. Whenever you make any form of meringue, then water or fat are two things that are going to prevent your meringue from getting the volume that we desire. Right? So just make sure you wipe all your equipment dry and you start off clean. So when you start off making egg whites, what you will also notice is that egg whites get volume, or they begin to whip a lot faster than whole eggs or just egg yolks. Right? Because whole eggs, the egg yolks have fat in them, and that's what prevents it from rising. Egg whites, on the other hand, is all protein. So they have the structure to accumulate air much faster. So we're just going to whip it till it gets a little foamy, maybe a minute or so. And then once it gets foamy, we're going to add our sugar into it. Okay, that's good. Now, with the meringue, make sure you are controlling the heat. If it's too hot, the water's too hot, your meringue is going to go really fast and it might cook your egg whites. When you did whole eggs, if you went slightly over, if you were in the 60 range, you'll still be fine. But with egg whites, they're more delicate, right? So you want to kind of be in that range of between 50 and 55 degrees. Anything over that, and your egg whites are probably, cooked, which means you won't get enough volume when you whip them. Okay. Also, when you are whipping, just nice quick action. Don't stand there, really slow, because then it's not doing much. The more your meringue is in contact with the surface, the more it's going to cook. Okay? So just keep mixing. If you have a thermometer, again, you can test it. If not, you can also just feel it like you did last time. Once it doesn't feel grainy anymore, so you get it. Thank you for that. Let me check it. It was the center.
53.
Yeah? What was the center?
The center. 52.
Also, think of this one. Usually this gives you surface temperature, right? So if my surface is 52, the inside's definitely a little bit hotter. So just be cautious about it. Okay, so once you hit that range, you can feel it. There might be a few, like very little bit, but it's not really grainy. You might find an odd grain here and there because it was probably on the side, and that's okay. Right? So make sure it's in that range. So hit that. Really, my passion is awesome today. Forget that. Probably these things are. Thank you. You can leave it. Okay, now when we did our whole eggs, right, we started whipping them at speed 9 or 10, okay, which was fine because it's got egg yolks in it, it's not going to go too fast. With meringue, you want to start whipping it slightly slower. So what I recommend is start off at speed 6 for about a minute. Then gradually push it higher. The maximum you're going to go to is speed 8. Right, try not to go higher than that because with your meringue, there is a possibility that you over-whip it. Okay? What happens to your meringue if you over-whip, it just loses its structure and then it just falls apart. So when you try and hide something like that, it's not smooth anymore. It just comes off in lumps. Okay? So we're going to get that going. And then as we're waiting for that meringue to get done, again, you're going to watch it similar to what we did for the sponge. You're looking at the same concept where it's going to get really nice and fluffy. You're going to focus your attention to a certain spot. If it stops rising over than that, it means it's got maximum oil. The thing with the meringue is, once it's done, don't turn it off. Because if you turn it off, let it sit, it's going to begin to lose that air. So anytime you're making a meringue, if you're not ready to use it, what I would recommend is turn the speed down, go to speed 3, and let it keep mixing on speed 3. Okay? You never want to turn it off and let it sit just on the table or on the machine, because it loses volume much faster. Okay? As you wait for that, we're going to get a stencil ready to do our mushrooms. So on one half, if you could just make some circles. This one, and your colors are probably going to be slightly different from mine, but just find whatever is closest. So this one's about 3.5 centimeters. You write it down here. Right, about 3.5 centimeters. If it's 3, that's okay too. No big deal. So place your cutter on there. Use a pen, pencil, or a Sharpie, and just make a few stencils for yourself. Just do it on half because half is going to be the tops, the other half is going to be the bottom. You don't need a stencil for that. Okay? So get that ready. As I told you, we're going to be reusing our sheet here, so we're just going to scrape that off, just wipe it down, and then going to use that for our meringues. Have your tray ready. And when my meringue's done, when your meringue's whipping, I'll call you back. I'll show you how to pipe it. Okay? And then once we pipe it, I've got these ovens here. These are all at 90 degrees Celsius. Because we're going to let these dry overnight. Okay? Because there's 250 grams of sugar in there for 100 grams of egg whites. More sugar means more browning. So if you were to put this in an oven, in about 5 minutes, you're going to get, it's going to turn brown. But it's still going to be soft on the inside. So the way we make these dry is at lower heat for a longer period of time. In most industrial places, what we do is this is like the last activity of the day. So you would make your meringue, and then when you turn your ovens off, you would then pipe them and slide them in. And then you leave them overnight. So the little heat, residual heat that's in there is enough to dry these. If you have something like a hot box or a dehydrator, you can use those. Right? But otherwise, an oven does the job. Okay. So that one is now beginning to rise. So I'm going to move it. And that's going to be the speed I'm going to spray. Okay. Now, what could go wrong? When you're making your meringue, you might notice sometimes it doesn't get volume. Right? So what's probably happened there is maybe there was a little water inside or a little fat. There is a fix for it. You can try it. Okay, you can try adding about a cap of lemon juice into it. Right? The acid helps to stabilize the meringue and sometimes brings it back. If it still doesn't do anything, it's better for you to just start over again. Because there's no point in wasting more time. What you should take into notice is as soon as your meringue is in there, it should get thicker. If you notice it just collapsed at the bottom and just feels like, liquid egg whites, it means your meringue has collapsed. Something to keep in mind. Okay? So, get your stencils done, get your sheet tray ready. Now then, you should have a plain adhesive in your food. Might be a little bigger or smaller than mine, doesn't matter, just pick the one that you have. Which is about this size. I think it's...
849.
Yeah, maybe I'll look at, this one's good too. 805?
305.
Yeah, 805 should work. If you have 805, that's great. I think you're going to use. Okay? So, that's going to be the last thing for today. We'll pipe this, get it ready, put it in there. Again, make sure you put the names on it, and we leave it overnight. Right. We might still have a little bit of time left today because I scheduled less things today. So, what we're going to do is we're going to scale out the recipe for tomorrow. So I'll put that on the sleeve. So once you're done with that, you can scale out the recipe. After that, you can clean up, and then if you want to head out, that's what we have to do.